Hello, welcome to the Thematadoras. We are so glad you are here today. We are so excited. This is Deana and Lizzie, and we have a special guest, Alexis, here getting ready to share her story, her journey, and some things that she went through. But what I would also like to say is a few days ago, bless both of Deana and Alexis' heart, they both came down with something where they barely could talk. And a couple of days ago, I thought, oh, I'm going to do a monologue today. But they're both doing much better. And I'm so thankful that you guys do not have to just hear my voice. And it's always good to see both of their faces. We do, if you're watching the video, we do have a camera off at this time, but we feel like her story is precious enough that we still want to share it as to many people as possible. So, without further ado, we have Alexis, and Alexis has a journey that she would like to share with us, and we would like to give her that voice to share it. So, Alexis, please tell us your journey and what you would like to share with the listeners.
Yeah, and we're
Yes.
going to call this lies I believed. That's where we're kind of going to go with this because, sorry, Alexis, to interrupt. But after chatting with Alexis, there were so many things that she felt that she built a foundation on that were absolute untruths. And if she would have known that these were lies, she would have never built a life and a foundation on these things. And it was so beautiful and magical to hear that theme in her story because, she wanted so desperately and passionately to share those things with you out there so that you would also realize that if there are things that are absolute fallacies and lies, that you are not going to build a life on those things. And instead, you will turn around, tear that down, and go for the life that's real. So, Alexis, I just want to throw that out there because I thought what you shared was beautiful when we talked, and we'll just go from there.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show today, guys. It's an honor to be here and share my journey with all of you. I am Alexis, and I'm just gonna share a story, my personal story, and shed light on the lies I once believed. Um, I think I'm gonna go ahead and read this what I wrote.
Go for it.
Have you ever met someone who made you believe they were someone they were not? Someone who kept secrets, manipulated, and lied. Someone who not only violated your trust, but committed unspeakable acts of violence. Let me take you to a place when I encountered such a person who wove a web of deceit around me, concealing their true intentions and manipulating my trust. I discovered secrets that harbored just beginning of the nightmare that unfolded. It is not easy to admit, but I am a victim of rape and trauma and abuse, and I was not the only one harmed. Um, Going through this experience and story, I just want to express like the things that what I went through. There was a lot of lies and manipulation that made me believe about what was said to me, and it was not. Um, Something very important to know is like when you're with someone, married or not married, like if you tell them no, you're not in the mood right then and there, and they still make you, that is rape. You can't say that it's not. You just because you're with someone, um, just because God says you're meant to be intimate with someone like that, it would still be considered rape. God would not be for that. And those were some lies that I believed, like, oh, well, God made this, and that's what you're supposed to do. That is not true. Like, you don't have to. Um, Having to get permission from the church to leave a relationship is another lie that I believed. I feel like so much power. I believe in God, and I just was raised to believe in God. You go to church, you listen to the pastor, you do this or that. But just because the pastor says something, you don't have to get permission from them. Like, it is okay to walk away from something when you know it's not safe or it's not working. You just don't have to get permission. And that's a huge lie that I believed. And that I've noticed that is amongst a lot of religion. And so it just makes from my perspective, it makes it really hard to be like, oh, well, how can I trust a church if I have to do this or that when I'm in an unsafe situation? And that's not how all churches are. That's just happens to be the church that I was at the time. um,
Alexis, I know I know people that are watching the video or hearing the podcast that nobody can hear our head shake, but we are so in agreement with what you're saying. And we have seen so many people that sought to get, support from the pastor and didn't feel like they had it. And you were definitely in a situation that was not safe. And question, did you have friends outside of the church? Did you have support outside of the church? Not to veer off what you were trying to say, but one thing that we've noticed about victims, and especially victims that are really being abused from in a religious perspective, that they have been isolated.
that's
Like,
100%. 100%.
yeah, okay,
Or they try and take control of money, or a huge thing that I've noticed too is they will want to do trauma bonding and convince you to come back. They'll do this awful act, whether it be hit you, kick you, rape you, verbally or emotionally abuse you, make a comment that they think is funny and it's not funny, it's just hurtful.
yeah,
And people think, oh, well, they don't mean it like that. That's just their sense of humor. It's like, no, it's not funny. It's not a joke. It was hurtful and rude, and you knew what you were doing when you said it. And I've just noticed that they'll be like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. And it will just be words. Like, it won't be an act of changing, or it will be. And they'll be like, oh, I got you flowers, or oh, I got you um, this teddy bear, or this chocolate, or something extravagant like a vacation, or a tablet or stuff like that, and I'm just like, and then you'll just go back. And I notice it's really hard for victims, including myself. You always find yourself going back because you keep hoping, oh, they'll change. They say they're going to change. They're going to work on this. And they might for a little bit, and then they'll go right back to where they were. And it
yep,
was lies that I believed, like that they're going to work on this. They're going to do better. They're going to change. They're going to work on this. They actually care about me. They didn't really mean that. It was just a joke and they thought it was funny. I overreacted. I overanalyzed it or overthought it. Or they're like, you're acting crazy or you're acting paranoid. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. You're mad
mhm,
because I'm expressing my feelings and calling you out and holding you accountable.
yeah, yeah. They don't like that feeling of losing control. And then the church that you were attending at the time, uh, were they saying, "Oh, he's repentant. He felt really bad," and then it kind of made you stay in there longer, thinking that, "Oh, well, maybe I didn't quite understand it," those windows or those moments,
No,
or were you like, "Everybody here is crazy"? I mean,
so I'm a big believer in God. I did not like when you go, they're like, well, you're in this relationship. You made a commitment in this relationship with God. You have to work through it. You should go to counseling first. And even with counseling, there was no change.
and counseling takes time, right?
It does. It
It takes
does. But
time. Yeah.
when someone's so good at lying and manipulating and putting the blame on you and not owning up to themselves, that's never going to change. That is who they are. And you can't be the one to change them. They'll have to want to do that on their own. And it just became unsafe.
Yeah. And question, how many times did you leave him? I don't mean to like cut into your story, but we know, an average person will leave their abuser 7 times before they're like, I'm done. I can't do this. Did you have like times where you actually left, physically left, but then came back or
Yes.
had him leave? Okay.
Yes. I physically left twice.
Twice. Okay.
Um,
That's,
we would try and make it work, left, and then came back a few months later, and then would go back again. And like, okay, so just you go back and you go back and you go back. And even when you have protection in place to not go back, you're convinced to go back.
Yeah.
And I hurt a lot of people around me doing this, and they didn't really understand the full depth of what I was experiencing and going through. And so it made it that much more difficult. But like, I lost family that was close to me, I lost friends that were close to me, and still to this day, it hurts. Like, I know I hurt them, but it hurt me a lot that they just kind of cut me out when they didn't understand the depth of what I was going through. And they never will, unless someone is going through what they are going through with you, they will not know. They just won't understand. Well, why didn't you leave sooner? Why did you stay? Why didn't you come to me for help? Why did you go back? You will not know what you don't know.
100%, Alexis. You are speaking to many hearts right now that are either in this situation or have been there. You're 100% accurate.
And it's so hard. You're just so convinced that you want this to work, but it's not. It's just, you can only do so much. And if someone's hurting you to the extent that they are and they're abusing you, it's not only not safe for you, but if you have kids in the aspect of things, like people in church, well, you're supposed to stay. It's good for the kids to have this relationship and watch it grow. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not. I come from a divorced family, and there was a lot of trauma and stuff that happened there as a kid. And it was better for my parents to divorce than stay together so they could get healthy and put me in a healthier situation than staying together and fighting all the time and teaching me as a child that that is okay, that is appropriate, that is what you should be in, that's what you should do. Like, this is normal, because it is not normal. It's not.
No, it's absolutely not. So as you journey through the lies, the manipulation, and all the other stuff, what else transpired? Like as through that process and to
So the lies I want to share that are huge, that not normal people would do, not normal people will understand that this can happen. They can fabricate a huge story to convince you to stay. Um, that is untrue.
yes.
So, um, I found myself entangled in a web of deceit and manipulation that threatened to suffocate the truth. These fabricated stories not only obscured reality, but also um, caused a lot of lies, blurred the lines between what was real and what was facade. The story was told to paint a chilling picture. The man claimed that he was part of a gang that was coming after our family, and that to instill fear and manipulation for me to stay and experience physical, sexual, mental, emotional, verbal abuse. They will fabricate a whole different story, a whole scenario that is not even true, just to convince you to stay. Um, it's a tactic often employed by abusers and narcissist individuals to maintain control and power over their victims. By creating such an elaborate story over and manipulating others to believe them, they create a distorted reality where the victim is gaslit into questioning their own experience and perception. These manipulative tactics serve to isolate the victim, make them confused about the reality, and make a cycle of abuse. We really challenged to know what was true, what was false. Um, there were others that got hurt in this
Mm.
situation. Um, and what I will say is, I've noticed that as family, we have family members that we know that are not great people, and we don't hold them accountable. We enable them, and then we allow them to do it again and again and again. And in my opinion, that also falls on you, because you knew about it, you know about it. You need to hold them accountable. You need to help them get help. That's what they need. I've noticed a lot with narcissists, and not to give them any sort of excuse, but I notice a lot of the time it's because they've dealt with trauma of their own, and they don't know how to get themselves out of that trauma and get the help they need. And they're in denial that they need help, and in denial that they rather blame everyone else around them and convince everyone that they're not the crazy one, that you're the crazy one, and they convinces everybody else around them that that's the truth.
Amazing, Alexis, that he could fabricate a story that he's in a gang and literally scared, those kind of scare tactics, or he's in a gang, or there's a gang coming after him, and of course you and your family. And like, it's incredible, to think that, he could fabricate a story like that. But the way that you told it, I won't divulge any details that you're not saying, but the way that you told it made it believable, because he provided witnesses, right? And so it was like, yeah, if someone just came to me and said, hey, this gang's been after me for a while, and so I want you to do X, Y, and Z, I'd be like, just jump off the bridge. But, if they're bringing people that are credible, and multiple, instances of proof, then it would be really hard for me to deny that, right? Especially from someone who I don't feel like they'd have any reason to fabricate such a huge lie. I mean, I'm not seeing the reason. So it blows my mind that he went to that length. But, you're not the first one that happened to. Like, my ex, he wanted to come up with a reason why he had such a terrible sexual addiction. He fabricated a story about him being a little boy, and he had great detail with it. He had this whole story about being a little boy in Las Vegas, and some creepy guy came around a corner because he was alone in Las Vegas on a vacation. And this creepy guy, like, took him around the building and did bad stuff to him. And he was crying, and he was like, I have this scar right here. He used a rope, and he told me these horrific things. And by the way, it was not till we'd been married like 7 years. And I just was starting to feel like, you've got seriously irreparable damage and problems that I can't fix. And then he started coming up with all these reasons for me to feel compassionate, for me to feel sorry for him. You know what
Feel
I mean?
sorry
Like,
for their trauma and their story and what
yeah,
happened to them. And even if it
yeah,
is true and something happened, like that's not okay. Yeah, I I understand the part of having a sexual addiction as well, of that situation with this person, and it caused a great deal of trauma as well. And what's crazy is that I love yours and Lizzie's story because you guys came together to help women because with the same guy in the same situation. And I struggle with that because I know what happened. And when there's other women coming into the picture, they're not going to listen to what you have to say unless it happens to them and they do it again and again out of fear. Like they just won't. Like it really sucks because you want to help this person. You're wanting to help these women because of what you've gone through, and they're just blinded by it. They just believe anything this person says because they're in love with this person. And I look back and I'm like, was that really love? I don't think it really was. I think it was trauma bonding. And I didn't even know what narcissism or trauma bonding was until after this experience. And I feel like so many people don't really know the depth of what trauma bonding is.
And I 100% agree, Alexis, because that is something I think Deana and I learned as we exited out of our just disruptive, abusive marriages and as we got older. And that is why we've noticed even more people are coming out of the woodwork, sharing their story. I love and hate social media. But I really think that we're becoming more aware of what narcissism, sociopath, all the things that, all the terms that we were like, what in the heck am I going through? And people that always felt really isolated don't feel as isolated because now they're learning. But the problem is the person, like you just said, that's in the midst of this type of trauma and abuse are the ones that aren't hearing it at the moment. And that's
No,
why I'm a huge advocate. What people don't understand, they're like, oh, well, I'm not going through abuse, so I don't need to listen. I'm like, yeah, you do. Because I guarantee there's going to be someone in your path that is going to be in this situation.
right.
And
And then you know the signs to help other people the best you can. And not only that, like you go through all of this and you're just like, how do I get out? Can I get out? Oh, I don't have money. How am I going to do it on my own? They're not willing to help. That's their way to keep you. The control and the power. And also being afraid to even be able to go and get help because I've seen it time and time again where they get let off way too easy. or they don't even get a consequence with legal consequence at all. I feel like it's very downplayed. I don't feel like enough, I know this is off topic, but I don't feel like enough officers and judges are trained enough to understand this. And I feel like there needs to be more training on this because there was a story, and I cannot recall, it drives me nuts. I can't recall the name. It was a girl and a guy. It was a couple years ago. It was in the news. Um, and he had murdered her. They got in a huge fight, and an officer even stopped them and had no idea what red flags to know it. And he could have saved her. Like, she could have been still here. It could have been prevented. And it's the point, like, if like people are getting killed because of it, and that's
Mhm.
not okay. And that's terrifying.
Well, and we have covered it before. 1 man and 3 women a day die from domestic violence. And people think it's because it's always been hit. People are getting hit. There was lots of warning signs before, but most of the time it's because they just dealt with emotional abuse. And so when that person that is being abused finally says, I can't take it one more day, and they
Mhm.
start to leave, if they do not have a good exit plan, this is where the deaths come. And this is why it's so important for us to share our story to hopefully get the people, not necessarily just in these situations, but the people that are walking beside them, not understanding what these people are going through.
Yes, 100%. Yes, an exit plan is huge. If you don't have an exit plan or help or support, it makes it difficult. And I will say, for a while, I didn't have that support. I was isolated. I do want to come on here and apologize to everybody that I did hurt throughout all of this. But really, I want everyone to realize that, like, you really don't understand what I went through, and you never will. And sometimes I find myself stupid for falling for these lies. But at the same time, it's like, that person was so good at manipulating and convincing you that it even happened to other people that it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how you know they're really good, when it's not just you that they, coerced, convinced, manipulated, but generally people like this have not just relationships, but I mean their family, coworkers, friends,
Mhm.
people around them that they need money from or they need something from, they'll just manipulate. They're manipulating everybody because they've created this complete false life, this complete false persona. And, they choose people in their life that are more trusting and believable. Like, they don't just, have happenstance friends and family. Like, they choose people to manipulate. They choose the ones that they can pull one over on. And that's where it gets dicey, right?
Right, absolutely. When they only do it to certain people and not other people, so then the other people don't understand it because it didn't happen to them and they've never seen that side of them. Absolutely, 100%.
I was just kind of going to go back to the lies. And when you finally got to that breaking point of these are really lies, or this is so like, I feel like Alice in Wonderland. What in the world? What world am I in? And what kind of transpired for you to finally think and really come to terms? I know you probably went through a phase because I know you and Deana talked a lot. You came to the terms of, sporadically throughout this whole journey that you knew there were lies or you felt there were lies. But then the other things, the people they brought in, like you said, and the other people, the other victims or the other whatever, people that were brought into the whole scenario, you're like, well, maybe he isn't lying. Oh my gosh, now I'm living in a fear because fear is very gripping and keeps us, I think, in these, it kind of puts us in a paralysis to stay in these very, very I want to say dangerous situations, but not realizing that how dangerous they really are. So I guess what brought you to that point, you think?
Um, there was a situation where this person um was asking for inappropriate things from someone, and um that it shouldn't have been. Gonna go into great detail. And right then and there, I said, okay, it is now my job to protect this person. I love this person. I care about this person. And this has now gotten way too out of control. And so I went and got help. Uh, that's pretty much what got me to finally get up and say, nope, these are lies. This isn't true. This is made up. We need to leave. We need to get away from the situation. We're not safe. And so I went and got help.
We are so glad that you were able to get help. So my question is, what was the greatest emotion that you experienced as you were untangling from this web?
There's a lot of emotion, lots of emotion.
Did you
Um,
feel shame, guilt?
I felt angry, confused, lost, sad, scared. Um, I almost went back again, actually, after all of this. But I had a friend who stand the ground and actually took over the situation to help me stay away, because they knew the great depth of this. And come to find out, they knew about this fabricated story, and I didn't know that they knew. Um, and if it wasn't for them, I probably would have been back, and who knows where I would be at that point.
Wow, that really highlights what we always talk about, right, Lizzie? That it is so important to know how to be the support person for somebody going through this. And it's so important to be able to give them the tools that they need, to realize that this is bad for you. It's going to hurt you. It will not get better ever. And when you end up having children with this person, it will hurt your children too. It's like they just need to keep hearing the truth, because when you're fed this constant diet of lies, and good lies, like really, really well spun, well devised lies, and you care about that person and you add that combination together, the lies are so difficult to overcome, and you need somebody from the outside just pulling you in. And I'm so glad that happened, Alexis.
I am too. And I will say it was really hard to leave. And not everyone knows the entire story. Just because at times I find myself crazy. Well, how did I fall for that? What, how? And then I look back and I look at the different patterns and the different red flags. I'm like, how did I miss that? But it's so easy. It can happen when someone's just that good, when they can convince other people, therapists or other people that are in that domain, and make them seem like they're not the crazy one and the other one is, and that these are all false and made up by myself. That just shows how much you should be concerned, because they're just that good at convincing people to believe their lies.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in fairness, I don't think I know one person in my entire life that hasn't been manipulated somehow by
And it
somebody.
doesn't even right, and it doesn't even have to be someone you're intimate with. It could be anyone.
Yeah,
It could be a friend. It could be a family member. It could be a parent. It could be anyone.
someone on the phone convincing you to buy
Yep.
something,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
always.
Yeah,
Or
someone to knock
just
on
say
your door.
yes on the phone so they can use it for them. I've seen it
Yeah,
go around.
exactly. Like there's so much manipulation, and deceit today. And I don't know anybody that has been manipulated somehow, some way. So I think it's really easy to, point a finger at someone and say, how could you possibly not recognize that? But let's just be real. We've all been manipulated or taken advantage of or deceived and been shocked or surprised later.
Yes,
None of us
100%.
is beyond that. So like I said, add in, an intimate relationship, a family, you become a family, they become a family with your family. You've all become a big family. And like you said, even when they go to a therapist, same thing happened to me. You go to a therapist or a trusted authority, and that person is convinced that they're a great person. And
Yep,
you,
100%.
yeah, so everybody in your circle is telling you that they're a good person, and you're the one that is misjudging the situation. And it's really them just manipulating and flying monkey and, doing all the things they do to the circle to make sure that you have plenty of people corroborating their story. But when you add all those people together, it creates a reality, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep. Sure
Anything
does.
else that you'd
Oh,
like to share?
oh,
Or
I just want to
Anything.
share with everyone, like, I know it's really hard to leave and it's very difficult, but to try to plan an exit plan, go open a savings account they don't know about, start building a savings, or finding someone that you can trust and go to them that are able to help support you get out of this situation. But I also want to offer the people, because I did have support to get out finally when I was done, and then I still went back. Um,
Which is typical. Like what
it's,
you just did, it's like the beautiful thing is you're like, I know I'm not the only one because sometimes we feel back like, oh, I went back again, right? After all of
right.
that. Yeah.
I just want people to know that, like, yeah, that support system, because the support system helped me get back out of there, and they spent a lot of money and time, and I was really appreciative of that, and I love them pieces, and I'm thankful for them on that. But now I don't get to hear from them much because I really hurt them, and I didn't mean to hurt them. I just didn't know what to do. I felt like I had to go back because of this fabricated story I was told where I needed to go back. So if you're going to be a support system, just know it's not going to be an easy ride. It's going to be a roller coaster. They're going to struggle. They might go back. You might get frustrated and angry with them, but don't leave them alone. Keep being their support system.
That that brought tears to my eyes because that is so true. I mean, I think I know Deana, I know me, and obviously you too, Alexis, that none of us can't thank our support enough. And yes, we probably hurt them a lot in our journey of just trying to figure out this whole mess. And we don't understand, they don't understand how much we really deeply do appreciate them. And then when they do get angry or they do walk away out of frustration, it hits really deep and it builds a different guilt because now you're pulled in so many different directions that, you're like the person that you love, that you were married to, or in this intimate relationship with, your support, your family. I mean, there's so many ways. It's like that whole Levi's symbol. If you look on all of the Levi's tags, it's like it's a horse trying to pull the jeans apart. And I think when you are a victim in these type of traumatic situations, you are like that those pair of jeans being pulled in different directions, and your emotions are constantly guilt, shame, what do I do, confusion. And when we lose that support, it really debilitates us for
It really
sure.
hurts. Yeah. And it hurts because you're just like, okay, well, what can I do? Like, I don't know how to make it up because I didn't even know myself at the time. I wasn't even myself. That was not me. That was not who I was. The way I acted towards people, the way I reacted towards people. And that's a big thing that I've noticed too. They'll wait until you act a certain way and be like, okay, you were acting this way. No, we're reacting to how you're acting towards us. And then sometimes, sadly, it's a domino effect and we with the reaction to other people too.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. They will push you into a corner, make you crazy, and then turn around and call you crazy. And then you're like, yeah, I guess I am, because look at all these things I'm doing. Look at my reactions. Look at my emotions. Look at I'm losing control here. I feel crazy. Well, but you don't get to see all the things they're doing that are driving you to that. And it's
Yeah.
just a master plan.
And it might take you years to finally like speak out, but your voice does matter, your truth matters, and they don't want you to speak your voice because they don't want the truth about who they are to come out. And that makes you want to speak up even more because then you're helping others and you're protecting other people.
Yeah.
There you
And I
go, girl.
and I think every victim, because I left my job after Rex in a hot mess. I lost friendships. I've lost so much. And I remember like I've lost people that will probably never ever talk to me again. And I think every victim has been there
Yes, and it
because you are
sucks.
not yourself, right? And and so I think Alexis, your voice, my voice, Dina's voice would say, please do not rate us or do not think that that person that you saw is the person of who the core of me is.
Yes.
It's like a wounded animal, right? You not shouldn't be near him or whatever else because that pain causes you to react in ways that you normally would not react.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Alexis, to wind up, I really want to know if you could tell the listeners what your life is like today, since you've gotten away and you've gotten back to who you really are, and you've gotten some healing. And I know you're still on your journey. I think we all are. But what is your life like today? What can they look forward to if they find that courage and that inner strength to do the right thing?
My family has grown. I I did get remarried. I have a son now. I finished my degree and I have a career now. And a career that I love, that I can help and support other people. Um, like there is something on the other side, and even if it's not like getting married again, like there is something else out there that you can get, like following your career path, becoming either a social worker or a special education teacher or an officer or anything that you want for your mindset, or even traveling and just enjoying life again. It is there and you can get that back. It does take time. I have been in therapy for years. And honestly, I still have triggers sometimes. And that's just part of my healing journey. And that's okay. That's normal. And but there is an a good end to this.
And so you would feel that your life is taking a positive and much happier turn.
100%. And I've found my passion and I do writing and I found my path back to God and go to church. Um, so yeah.
That's
Wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, if so, you made a really good statement to the supporter. Don't give up. Doesn't mean that they're not going to have their moment of frustration, and it's not mean that they can really. It's just a strange role. I think it's a very difficult one that no one is like really trained for. Um, but also I loved something you said, because I have said this before, or actually my dad said it after my first marriage. And that was family members need to hold these people accountable and not
Yes.
enable them. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
I know you, as a family member, you want them to do better and do great, and that's fine. But when you don't hold them accountable and like, look, no, this is what you're doing, this is not okay, which they may argue back with you. Don't feed
Mhm.
into it. Don't feed into it. When you are allowing, or if you're being afraid of them, you're allowing them to win. And that's what they want. They want you to be afraid. And that was one big thing that I've learned. I was always afraid. I always believed that I needed to be afraid. And now I'm not afraid. I'm just like, I'm not scared. Like, you made this choice, you did this affected me, and you still want power and control still. I'm not gonna give it to you. You don't deserve it. And every victim should know, like, that's what they want. They want power and control. And yeah, it's okay to be afraid, but don't let them know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Good job. This was great, Alexis. And we appreciate you so much for,
Mhm.
being brave and taking the time and caring enough about other people that you would tell your story and be vulnerable to do so.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
It was our joy. And just so that others know, we've said this before, for people to come on and talk and share their story, they are definitely tapping into their pain points. And sometimes they don't even know the trigger that it may, you know, come from it, but they feel like their story is so important enough that they hope that their voice and their story and their testimony can at least speak to one person. Then it's worth it. And so we just enjoyed having you, Alexis, and so thankful that you were willing to share it with us. And yeah. Anything else you'd like to share to everybody before we end?
No, thank you guys for joining, and I hope that this can help shed some light on abuse, manipulation, narcissism, lies, and I hope that you guys are able to get out. And if you have gotten out already, I am so proud of you and happy for you, and I hope things continue to look up.
Well said. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And so if you want to hear any of our podcasts, you can find us under Thematadoras on all the major platforms. We also have a YouTube channel. And you can reach us if you want to contact us through our website, thematadoras.com. And at the end of the day, we hope you all understand how much we care deeply about each and every one of you. And we do hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.